As the border crisis in the Biden administration continues to draw attention, new details have emerged regarding the trafficking of children. Whistleblowers have revealed that just within the last week, more than 150 unaccompanied migrant children as young as 5 years old have been sent across the Rio Grande into the small town of Eagle Pass. What accounts for this recent surge? Joining me now to discuss this and more is Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa. He serves on 5 Senate committees, including the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Budget Committee, where he is the ranking member. Senator Grassley, welcome back to Washington Watch.
I'm glad to be with you. Thank you for having me, Tony.
Senator, before we jump into this immigration issue, I want to ask you about another pressing issue that you raised the alarm over a year ago. In September of last year, you wrote a letter to Lloyd Austin raising concern about individuals within the Department of Defense that may have been compromised by Iran. Is that connected to the leaks that we see that have taken place in the Pentagon?
Assuming that the rumors we hear that she's involved with it, I don't know whether that's been confirmed yet, but if it has been confirmed, it's highly dangerous to our country, and I hope the FBI gets to the bottom of this leak quickly because it puts lives at risk. And I've raised concerns about this employee before. The Biden administration didn't take these charges that we made a year ago seriously. And I just remember Biden's former envoy for Iran, Robert Malley, was caught mishandling classified documents himself.
Right.
And one thing's for certain, personnel's policy, Biden's soft on Iran approach has made our world less safe, and you can bet that Harris would bring more of the same.
Well, I just think if this proves to be true and you raised these questions a year ago and they didn't act on it, that makes this even more egregious. I want to move to the other issue that you've been sounding the alarm over, and that is the issue of migrant
Before
children.
You do that, can I say that Senator Wicker and I sent a letter today trying to get to the bottom of this thing. So I'm involved in a second letter as well. I just wanted to get that latest information in.
Well, we'll continue to track that as those come available. My point is, you were on top of this over a year ago, and let me. Did you get a response when you sent this letter to Lloyd Austin in September of last year?
No.
Tragic. If in fact this proves to be true, this is dereliction of duty. This should be something that should be on the front pages of every newspaper in America.
It should be, yes.
Let's talk about another tragedy, and that is how migrant children, are coming across the border unaccompanied, and they're being lost. The Biden administration is losing them. We're finding them into forced labor and sex trafficking. How significant, how big is this problem?
Very, very big, by tens of thousands. And the law requires that the administration, any administration, report to Congress on the status of thousands of unaccompanied minors. Federal law requires Department of HHS, the Office of Refugee Settlement, to annually report. And in these 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, there's been no report to Congress, and they're supposed to tell us how much money's been spent, how many kids are involved, and the location of these kids, and the status of them. And the whole idea is to protect the welfare of the kids who are here without their parents. Otherwise, they wouldn't be unaccompanied minors. And the idea is to make sure that these families are vetted where they're going to go. And we've had an example of a family going to a family connected to a gang. I think that was in Ohio, someplace in Ohio. And I think it was an MS-13 gang, as an example. And the whistleblower that brought this information to me has been taken off of that job. And so we got these bad actors, and they're capitalizing on the Biden-Harris open border policies and using kids as pawns. And once they're here, the Biden administration's not looking out for their welfare and their safety the way they should.
Senator, I want to go back to what you said. They are required to report to Congress on the status on this, and you've requested that, and you've not gotten that information. Is that correct?
Yeah, and even Cotton and I provided legislation that should have passed the Senate unanimously to get these reports. In other words, just passing a law to emphasize what the existing law was, and the Democrats wouldn't bring it up because I'm sure it's embarrassing to them. At one time, Trump, when he was president, was castigated for when maybe 1,500 unaccompanied children could be accounted for. In this particular case, it's probably 85,000 that this administration and the press isn't paying any attention to it.
You've mentioned two things here just in our conversation where you have requested information, or information was supposed to come to you as a United States Senator from the state of Iowa, as a ranking member on an important committee. And you're telling me that they basically just thumb their nose at the Senate and say, we're not giving you that information. Is that an accurate portrayal?
Absolutely. Not enforcing the law, not carrying out the law, that they take a constitutional oath to carry out the law passed by Congress. But listen, this is something the executive branch, under both Republican and Democrats, are not fulfilling the law. There's hundreds of reports to Congress that are necessary and accounted for by law that we never get those reports. This is just one example, but the bad thing about this example is the kids are in the custody of the federal government to make sure that they're in safe places, and our government doesn't even know where they are, and the government's supposed to report to Congress where they are, and they obviously, as we've said 3 times during this 5-minute interview, we don't get those reports.
Right. And the tragedy is they're saying their open border policy is compassionate, when in fact it is the furthest thing from compassion when they've lost these kids, forced into labor and even into the sex trade. Senator Chuck Grassley.
I think the cartels are making more money from child trafficking and human trafficking than they are from drugs.
Actually, the data would show that is true. Senator Chuck Grassley, I want to thank you for joining us today. Always great to talk with you, my friend. I appreciate all the work that you do on behalf of children and families on Capitol Hill and across the country.
I'll be back with you if you want me again.
Absolutely. Goodbye. I got you on speed dial.